my name's Cymoril and I'm from Gray Designs. I'm going to be talking about the Lola by Swoon. What I'm hoping to do in this series of videos is actually construct a Lola bag. I will just say now though, I will not be sharing any pictures of or showing in the videos the actual pattern pieces at any point, the written pattern or anything pertaining to the pattern that can be copied in any way. What I will be showing is my own cut out pattern pieces. These are not even the measurements of the Lola because I've adjusted these. I will be discussing the pattern, I will be showing how I'm constructing it and some of my own little tips and tricks and things I do slightly differently. I completely support the designer and I love this bag by Swoon. In fact, my whole bag making journey started with the Ethel by Swoon 18 months ago, and that's how I moved from my dressmaking, which I still do, into bag making, which has now become a passion. Very much assisted and improved in the last 8 to 9 months by the sew-alongs that Christine from Bags by Bags of Style. It's really hard to say that. Christine Davis is an absolute superstar, and her sew-alongs can be accessed through a waiting room group in Facebook. I will try and pop a link for that in the comments if you're interested in doing some of her sew-alongs and learning some of her very neat hacks and tricks and tips. Some of the tips that I'm going to be sharing in this bag have come from Christine, particularly birthing the bag through a zipper pocket, which I will be adding to the lining of the Lola, which the pattern doesn't actually call for. Like I say, I completely support this designer and I love this bag. In fact, it was the very first bag pattern I purchased. All my other bag patterns to that date were free downloads, as I wanted to sort of test my feet without sort of an outlay. And Ethel is great for that because you don't have to outlay on hardware. The only thing that you need that you might not have in your fabric stash if you're an upholstery sewer or a dressmaker is the fusible foam that the pattern calls for, and lots of bags call for, including the Lola that we're going to discuss and sew through today. So without further ado, I'm just going to discuss some of the bags I've got here that I've made. All my other Lolas have been gifted or sold, but I have 4 here that I've made previously that I'm just going to talk a little bit about before I get on to the construction of this bag. I am a visual learner. That's why I'm doing this video. That's why I joined Christine in her sew-alongs. I struggle with paper patterns, as do many of us, and it was my friend Mandy that asked if I could do something like this because she really wants to have a go at making the Lola for somebody's birthday present, but hasn't quite got the confidence to just jump in and go with the paper pattern and do it. She wants to see how it's done first. And maybe follow along to give her that confidence as she sews. And you can do it, Mandy, because you are ace and you've made some beautiful bags so far with us in the sew along. So, you know, we can do it. Anyway, I digress. Back to the Lola. The very first Lola I made, I followed the pattern precisely apart from 2 tiny adjustments. This is me to a T. I tweak. I do it when I cook. I never follow a recipe. I throw extra this and that and the other on. I always tweak. I was sewing this very first bag on a 20-year-old Genome New Home machine that I'd got and sewn all my clothes on for the last 20 years. I came to sewing very young through my grandmother, God rest her. She taught me to hand sew, and if I didn't hand sew it properly, I unpicked it and did it again, and it had to be as neat on the back as it was on the front. She was my QR department, and I miss her terribly. But as a result, I learned some invaluable skills, and then she moved me up on my 16th birthday to my very first sewing machine. And I still have it now. I've only ever been able to afford second-hand machines up until recently. I did have an Aldi cheapie, and that was my first brand new machine. But I did learn very quickly that it wasn't up to the task of some bag making. If you're making bags out of fabric, that's great. You can probably just about manage with thinner fabrics. Your Harris tweeds and your upholstery type fabrics, it starts to struggle with the multiple layers. But other than that, it's not a bad machine. It's a good, for starters, you can, it's not bad. Lots of functionality. But as I moved on with my bag making, I soon found that I was struggling, and my husband very kindly, because we're not flush, my husband's disabled and I'm his carer, my husband very kindly bought me a Singer heavy duty 4422. Now this is not an expensive machine, but it was the most we could afford, and it has definitely helped me. So anyway, going back to the first bag I made, please bear in mind that it was made on a very old machine and I think I did incredibly well, because I actually jumped straight in and went for the Harris tweed, which was my first Harris tweed sew too. So here it is. This was my first Lola. I still love her, don't get me wrong. The only thing was, my machine couldn't handle sewing through vinyl. I didn't have a Teflon foot, and my machine just didn't like it anyway, and I struggled. So I ended up with these points, and I curved this. So it's different than the pattern in that regard. Other than that, it's got the slip pocket. It's got the firm bottom, the bag feet, and I think you'll agree it's quite a pretty little bag. My bugbear with the with the Lola pattern, the only bugbear I have is the handle length. They're super short, a little bit useless. Sorry. Right, I'll justify that. For me personally, I find them difficult to use. That is because I have a mobility issue of my own and very often will need to use a stick. So as a result, having a stick in one hand and a bag in another, and then you've got to try and open the door with the keys or get in your purse, it's awkward. So I'm one of these girls who likes to either have a shoulder bag, that's not this bag, and I do not make it into a shoulder bag, or I like a crook of the arm bag. And as you can see, this is just not, it's a wrist bag at the most. It's not practical for sitting in the crook of your arm. So I moved on and I made this one. So I find for a crook of the arm bag, you need about a 24 to 26 inch handle. If you've got skinny arms, you could probably even get it up your shoulder, but I haven't got skinny arms, so that's not happening. This bag, I think you'll like how shiny Carol Smiley it is. This was actually 2 scatter pillow covers from Primark, funnily enough, and I actually still even have the remnant here. I used 2 of these to create this bag. I got the front and the back out of it, and I even lined, excuse me, she says, oh, embarrassing. I lined that pocket with this as well, so that looks very nice in there, doesn't it? And then the interior was the back of the cushion cover, which was just a plain canvas fabric, and then I put a slip pocket in there. I took the window slide looking aperture off. I didn't use that because I wanted, as you can see, it's a wider zip. Just for ease of use, I wanted a wider zip. The other thing I did, because I'm making a longer handle, I moved the handle placement. I personally prefer the handle placement a little bit further out. I think it looks better. Plus, like I say, for getting your arm through, it's a bit more functional. So that was an upcycled bag. I made the straps myself from faux leather, and it's got corresponding bottom. Made several bags since. I moved on. I bought this beautiful piece of rose gold cork. I cannot find any more anywhere, and it breaks my heart because I do love it. And I made this little beauty. Now these handles are pre-bought. You can get them about for £2 or £3 off eBay from China if you're willing to wait. And I used strap connectors. They come pre-riveted and they even come with single cap rivets. Not a fan of those myself, but each to their own. I chose to make this sit on the lining of the zip, sit outside of it. I wanted it to look a little bit like piping, but also give a little hint of what the lining would be like. And then it's just got, again, a slip pocket in there. So that's, as I think you'll agree, it's quite a pretty bag. The black bottom, the black handles and the black zip with the copper teeth and the copper strap caps and hardware, I think you'll agree will look very, very pretty. But if you want to do a different type of strap connection, I went a little bit off-piste with this one. I was going for a quirky, sort of slightly steampunk Victoriana look because I had this beautiful Alice fabric. And here she is. It's my Alice bag. It's got a little gold bow, and so I decided with this little scrap of gold leather that I had to make a lovely bow there. I'll just adjust this lighting, excuse me slightly. It may, it's a little bright, isn't it? Very warm. That might be a bit better. There you go. So I decided to make what is a concealed strap connector, but I'd still riveted it for extra security. And instead of using, I had some leather strapping that a friend had given me, so I turned that into the handle. But instead of using a hexagon type strap connector, I thought these little buckles made a quirky addition, along with the lock and the crown and the clock and everything. Very Alice, very through the looking glass, just a little bit quirky and odd. Again, on the lining of this one, I decided to go with a dark fabric that sort of reflected the gold and the Victoriana, but I ditched the slip pocket in favour of a second zip pocket. I like the security of a zip pocket. Yes, we've got the one on the outside, and that's here on this side, but I like the security of a second zip pocket, so I ditched that. I did that because also it's nicer to berth the bag through the zip pocket than it is the bottom of the bag like the pattern calls for. So the two things that I am going to change while I sew this is the handle length and placement, and how you construct the handle, and how you berth the bag. So the actual sewing up of the bag itself it'll all be sewn up rather than leaving a little gap for berthing through, because you're going to berth it through the pocket, which is just much neater and tidier. It also is going to make it quite nice for slipping the firm bottom in and attaching the bag feet. It's going to, if you do it through the pocket, it's going to be easy to get your hand in there and manoeuvre and do things. I'm looking at this side, my camera's here, I apologise. Right, so moving on to construction. I'm going to talk about the pattern. I am going to make this pattern out of some recycled leather. This has come from a sofa that was dumped near me. I took the exterior, not the seating part, the back and the sides. I cleaned, disinfected, hung and dried it, and then conditioned it with a leather treatment that I bought from Yorkshire Trading. If you're interested, I can share that information. Now, as I said before, I have enlarged this pattern by approximately 1 inch all the way around, so you will not see the correct size in any way, because this is my own size, but the pieces, the shapes and the construction are all the same as the pattern calls for. So this is my leather. This is going to be my bottom of my bag, so I'm not going to show you too much, but that's the leather and that's the bottom. It's very nice, it's very soft, and that's that. This is the back side of it, and I think you can see straight away it's a lot bigger than the standard Lola. You can see it's going to be quite a lot bigger. So because I'm quilting this fabric myself, rather than fuse the foam on, I'm using headliner, and I've just attached it with a little bit of masking tape at the sides I found my centre point, use a set square to then find my starting line to sew from. My front panel I've actually completed, and that's now quilted, and I've added my little embellishment here, which I think that's the gold hardware with this cream leather in the quilt design. Is going to look very regal, very posh. So that's going to be the exterior of my bag. So that's those pieces there. For the hardware, I'm going to do a different connection. I'm going to use diamond strap connectors. I think because I've increased the size of this bag, that it can take the size. It's not going to look washed out with heavy hardware. I think that's going to look very nice. I'm going to construct the handles and show you how to sew those as we go along as well. The lining of the bag, again, is an upcycle. Excuse me, Peepo. I forgot the aperture for the zip that's going to go on the reverse as well. That's there. The lining for the bag, I've created that out of a skirt that I got from the charity shop. I just thought it would look nice. I've got this woven tweed type fabric. I've cut it this way so the diamonds run the same way as the diamonds in the quilting of the fabric. So there you go. The lining of that skirt, the skirt was lined, so I am then using that for the lining of the zipper pockets that I'm going to make, and for the interior bag bottom. Those pieces I need to go ahead and I need to fuse interfacing onto them. I am going to use medium non-woven. Woven is fantastic. I've recently won some in a competition because I couldn't justify. It's an expense. It's a big expense, and when you're trying to make bags and keep your costings down, it's a hard one to justify because it's hidden on the inside. But I do appreciate the quality of the product and the advantages of it. But because I'm making this bag a little bit bigger, once the bag is birthed, I can then press it on the inside of the bag. So it's going to look fine with the medium, especially because I'm not using a thin weight cotton and I'm using leather, so that doesn't need interfacing either. So from a prep point of view, what you need to get started is cut all your pattern pieces, interface them with whatever interfacing you choose. The pattern calls for the woven, but I find you can just as easily use a medium non-woven interfacing. Probably for the first time, if you not use a craft-based cotton or a poly cotton, like with any bag, when you first make it, it's getting used to constructing it in bulk. So go ahead, interface, cut, and do all your pieces. Then you'll need your hardware to hand. That's if you're using a strap connector, have those to hand, or you can rivet the straps directly onto the bag. I'll tell you when you can do that. Or you can follow the pattern and I'll tell you when you stitch that on as well. Hardware wise, you're going to need your bag feet as well. You're going to need your zip, you're going to need your zip pulls, and that's everything. So I'm going to go ahead and finish interfacing and cutting my lining pieces and finish quilting my back panel. When I've done that, I'm then going to come and sit down with you and start constructing the bag. One last thing, bag bottoms. You can use cardboard, you can use the woven mesh stuff. I don't like it, it's not tough enough for me. At the moment, Lidl have got their fitting mats in. These are $2.99 for 6, and they're really firm. I think they give a nice bottom to a bag, and they've got this slight tackiness to the back, which is, I don't know if you see that. You slide your fingers here, can't that. So I'm going to use it that way around, so that sort of sticks a little bit to the, see what I mean? So it's not going to slip around in your bag once you put it in. I mean, plus you're obviously going to have your bag feet connected to that as well. So there you go. I'm going to start construction in a second with you. I'm just going to finish that off and we're going to get going. Thank you for joining me.